Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a brief reading on messages from the Divine Masculine, and I'll be using the Twin Flame and Soulmate Oracle deck by Karen. I can't find her last name. And I'll post a link to where to purchase in the description box below, and also the Spellcaster's Tarot. Before I get started, I wanted to just say a couple of things. The first thing is that I really want to encourage people to be conscious of the energy of what you're putting out into the universe and how you interact on this channel. I've said this a few times before, but I'm going to mention it again, that before you comment, think about what you're saying. Think about the energy and the message that you're putting out there. If you're saying things like, oh, my twin is never going to come around, or this relationship is ridiculous, or this is all bullshit, well, guess what? You're going to continue to experience the things being bullshit. When you work through those negativities, those belief systems, it will shift the way that you see things. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't those of you that have situations that are challenging, absolutely. But it's really important to mind the way that we speak about them, the way that we talk about our counterparts, the way that we talk about this connection, the way that we, the things that we say, the things that we put out into the universe, because what we put out is what we're likely to get back. So just be really conscious of that. Secondly, I don't get a lot of negative comments, but I get a few. I don't really give a shit, to be honest with you, about what people say or do, but what I will say to you is that, again, be conscious of your energy. If your comments are negative, if you're like, I hate the way you breathe, or I don't like the way you talk, or your reading style is ridiculous, then click away. Go watch another channel, go watch another reader. There's hundreds of readers on YouTube. If you don't like my style, you don't like the way I channel, you don't like the way I talk or breathe, or that I say fuck all the time, then it's totally okay to go somewhere else. But think about this. If you're putting out negativity, criticism, if you're demanding or entitled, if you can't say something nice, it's better not to say anything at all, right? Rather than putting that out there, because what we put out is what we get back. So if you're constantly criticizing people, or if you take the time to just make, shitty comments in the comment section, well, what are you going to get back? That kind of shitty energy. Like I said, it really doesn't bother me. Most of the time I just delete it. But what I will say is that as a spiritual teacher in this format, it feels important for you to recognize that if that's your impulse, if that's the way that you're choosing to interact on this channel, which is just a small section of the world, it's likely that that's the energy that you're putting out into the world, and that's probably what you're attracting back to you. So really take some time to be conscious. Take some time to decide, do I need to say this? Is this kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it helpful? If it's not, just keep it to yourself and question, interrogate that inside of you, why you want to go into that space, why that's your impulse to tear down instead of build up. So that felt really important to say this morning. So I'm just following what Spirit is guiding, and I'm gonna jump into the reading now. If you'd like to book a private reading, please click the description box below. Everything is in there. And also, when you're booking your reading, again, please be conscious of what you're doing. Read the descriptions, read the expectations. I no longer answer emails that people send me that are questions about the reading, or that what to expect in terms of when the reading will arrive or how it's delivered, because all of that is clearly described on the scheduling page. And so I hate to do that, because I tend to like to want to respond to emails as much as I can. But if I spend a lot of time doing that, it makes it really difficult to be able to stay on track with everything else. Oh, and one final thing, please don't timestamp my videos. I had somebody timestamp it last week, and I, addressed that person directly. But if you're like, oh my gosh, it's 5 minutes, right now, 4 minutes and 30 seconds of her talking before she gets into the reading, again, click away. These readings are free. If you can't sit through 4 minutes of me explaining some things and teaching some things, you're probably not the person for me. Because the people that I resonate with are people who are willing to listen and hear, and to respect boundaries and conversations. So that being said, let's jump in. The current energy of the situation. So this is messages from the masculine. So what does the masculine's current energy? What is it that so I'm going to be channeling a certain set of masculines. Maybe most, some, not, I don't know. It'll depend on if it resonates. But basically, I'm going to be speaking as if I am the masculine speaking to you. So the current energy of the masculine, oh wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. A spiritual twin flame. Okay, so what their current energy, what they're feeling is the masculines are recognizing that this is a spiritual connection. They're recognizing, again, their physical human self may not identify this language. They may not say, you're my twin flame. But what they're recognizing is the energy. They see it very clearly that there is a spiritual component to this. They see this connection as a very powerful, beautiful, dynamic energy. They get it in a different way. I don't know if something shifted with them, if they have some kind of newer insight or something, some kind of development happened, but they're definitely in that space of resonating in the spiritual twin flame energy. So in a higher dimension, their 5D selves, their higher consciousness is really vibrationally in alignment right now with that twin flame. They may be feeling you very strongly. They may have felt your energy recently. They might have felt more of a pull towards you, and that could be part of why this is happening. But they're definitely feeling this energy of twin flame, mirroring, connecting. They feel in a very spiritual sense. So I almost get this sense, like I'm feeling very like there's this pre-merge type of energy that they're feeling. This it's just like on the precipice of wanting to merge and wanting to come into that kind of inner union. I feel like they're really starting to recognize, the masculines, what they're saying to you is like, I'm really starting to recognize the ways in which I've been disconnected from my own consciousness and from myself and from my inner feminine, and I really want to shift that. So it's a really beautiful message. So what are their current blocks that they're dealing with? Ascension. So they are it's interesting that this is coming up. The current block that they're dealing with right now, the masculines, is ascension. They're resisting it. That's what I'm getting, is that they're in a space of resisting it. Why? Because it's difficult. Because ascending means that you have to look at all the shit that weighs you down. It means that you have to pay attention to the things that you're not paying attention to. It means that you have to become conscious. It's a process of enlightenment. Enlightenment is destructive. Enlightenment is not pretty. People always think that, like, to become enlightened, that you just go sit on the top of a mountain and meditate for, a certain period of time, then everything starts to work out. That's not how enlightenment works, unfortunately. Enlightenment is a destructive process primarily because we have to begin with tearing down all of the illusions, the ego things, the limiting beliefs that have brought us to the space that we're in, what we've created up to this point in our lives. And so that means we have to go through a process of deconstruction. Think of the mind, the spirit, the existence of this person, any person on this journey. So it's like a demolition project. That's what the masculine is saying to right now, is like what's currently blocking is that they recognize that this is a demolition project. They're being renovated spiritually. And if you've ever watched a renovation happen, oftentimes what happens is that you'll look at an old building that's being renovated and everything gets torn out. They tear out the floors, the walls, the plumbing, the electric, and literally all that's left standing is the basic, like the foundation and the walls that are necessary, that stand, that you build upon. Even some of the structure, the bones of the house, so to speak, come down and they put up new things. That's what the masculine is going through right now. And part of what they're blocking is that. They're like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to be in that energy of feeling like everything is being torn apart. They're like, in many ways, trying to cling to what is comfortable, to what they know, so that they don't have to face all of this stuff that they're leaving behind, that they're losing. It's like, yeah, maybe you don't want to have a rat-infested basement so to speak. I'm just using, an analogy here, but it's comfortable, it's familiar. What happens when I tear all of that stuff away? What happens when I don't have these crutches or these habits or these people to rely on anymore? What happens then? Then I have to stand on my own. I have to create my own meaning. I have to build from the ground up. Yeah, that seems a little bit scary, and that's why they're blocking ascension. So what is the advice that Spirit has? Like, what Spirit is advising the masculines? Wow. Communication. Use your words. That's what Spirit's saying. Communicate. They can tell you this. The thing is that if you're being conscious and you're being aware and you're being kind towards your connection, they can say this to you. They can tell you, I am going through a lot. I'm going through a lot of tough stuff right now. I don't know what's happening. I've never experienced anything like this. And it's scary. And if they would just communicate and use their words and tell you, look, this is where I am, then it would simplify things. It would make things easier. You'd actually be able to support them. Whereas if you're being, if they're blocking you and they're not communicating and they're not telling you what's going on, well, how the hell can you help them? How do you know if someone's not telling you? And that's something that Spirit is saying. The Spirit is working with the masculine to say, hey, communicate. Tell the freaking truth about what's going on with you. The truth will set you free, right? And if you just communicate, if you just say, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, then people can get support. And that is the advice that Spirit has. It's funny because I'm talking about communication, and I don't know if you've heard, but my throat chakra started like being weird. Scratchy throat and stuff. And so Spirit's very, very clearly confirming that communication is important. The masculines have to learn to communicate. They have to learn to be able to communicate and to assert themselves and to say what it is that they want, say what it is that they need, not be so afraid to speak their truth, not be so afraid to put it out there. And that's what Spirit is working with them on right now, is communicating. It doesn't even mean just communicating with you, okay? That's what Spirit's saying. What they're saying right now, the masculines are saying it's not just communicating with you, counterpart. It's communicating with other people. It's communicating with the world. It's asking Spirit for what they need. It's learning how to pray and to assert themselves verbally. This is something that they need to do, and that's what Spirit is working with them on. So what is it that the masculine wants you to know? Oh my God, you guys, this reading is beautiful. Have faith. Have faith, guys. It's like what your masculine is saying to you is have faith. Don't give up. Don't walk, not, okay, let me clarify that. Because I was going to say something, but Spirit was like, no, not that way. Let me think for a second. Have faith in the process. Do what you're being led to do. If you're being led to walk away from the connection for a short time, to walk towards your destiny, to walk towards your happiness and your fulfillment, then do that. That's important for you to be able to do that. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to sit around and wait for them to, figure it out and to go about their lives. But have faith in the sense of walking away, doing whatever it is you're doing, going in a new direction, knowing, again, if it's meant to be, it will be. And knowing that gives you a sense of peace, right? It gives a sense of peace, of understanding that it doesn't necessarily have to be, sometimes you just have to surrender and let go and trust that things are going to work out for the best. This is interesting because this came up for me right now, and I don't usually talk about this, but my son had a major surgery when he was an infant, and that having faith was what I experienced when I left him at the door of the operating room with the surgeon, was the sense of just like, yeah, everything is going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Everything is going to turn out the way that it's meant to turn out. There was no fear, just complete and total faith that everything was going to work out just fine. And what your masculine is saying to you is, I need you to have that type of faith. I need you to have enough faith that you can walk away, go in a different direction, take care of you, pursue your passions, do whatever it is that you're being called to do right now, and trust that this is happening and Spirit is working with me on this. Spirit is really, in the background working on this to help things work, to move forward. But as long as you're stuck, as long as you are unable to move forward, as long as you're unable to live your life and take the steps that you need to take, it's going to make it harder, because then Spirit is like, so it's kind of like this. If it's like if you surrender and say, okay, I have total faith and trust that this is gonna happen, everything's gonna be great, and you walk away and you're doing you, then it's like, cool, spirit can just work on on the masculine. But if you're over here like panicking and not having faith and not trusting, then spirit also has to work on you. And that's not like spirit has, it's not like spirit has limits on the way that spirit can work with people, but it'll make it easier if you're doing you and you're staying in faith and you're doing your work and your process, and then the energy can be focused toward the masculine and their process. So I hope that makes sense, because it feels like what spirit is saying and what your masculine is saying is, if you can have faith, if you can just trust and stand in that space, it's going to make it a whole lot easier on all of us. I don't want anybody to get the message, because the masculines are being very clear. Like, the masculine energy that I'm channeling right now is very clear. Do not waste your time, or wait and live your life on pause, waiting for this connection to come back. That's not the kind of faith that they're talking about. That's not saying, there are people sitting around being like, well, I have faith that we're going to get married and have a baby next year, so I'm not going to move on with my life. That's not faith. That is not faith at all. That's actually codependence. What faith is about following your path and going in your direction. It's allowing yourself to experience life, knowing, with this deep sense of knowing that whatever is meant to be is going to come back. And so you have to stand in that space, knowing that what is meant to be is yours, right? Whatever, if it's divinely orchestrated, if it's divinely guided, then that's just how it's going to be. And so the masculines are saying very clearly, don't wait. Don't sit around and live your life on pause and wait for me. Live your best freaking life. Go out and jump from cliffs, in the tropical regions, and dive with whales and, dolphins, and go explore the world and live your life and experience all the love and bliss and joy that's available for you. Go do that while I'm doing this process, while I'm still growing. Do that, because when I come back, if I'm meant to come back into your life, I want to find you vibrant and joyful and passionate, not find you sitting in your basement depressed and down and despondent. I want you to live your life and come and know that you're just fine. You're doing fine, not just fine, you're doing great. And that is important. It's actually very important for your masculines right now that I'm getting. It's actually very important to them on a spiritual sense, on a spiritual level, that you not wait, that you're not unhappy and miserable and living your life and feeling sad and depressed all the time. It actually makes it harder for them, because then they feel stuck. They feel responsible, and they feel like, as long as you're not living your best life because you're waiting for them or because of the stuff that they're doing, it makes them feel responsible. And for some of them, in their human selves, they struggle with guilt and they struggle with shame. And so if they feel guilty and shame because you're miserable, it's keeping them stuck. It keeps them stuck in cycles that aren't serving them. And so they're saying, if you can shift that and you can move into a space of abundance, it's going to actually help them to release some of that guilt and shame and be able to move into different levels and layers of healing. So that was an interesting message that came through. I hope that this reading resonated. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk with you all soon. Take care. Bye.